I recently put out a video going over my biggest losing trades after 1 year of trading the stock market. Well, that was a recap of $48,456 in losses for you. So I thought it was only right to show my biggest winners as well. In case you missed my last video on losing trades, I've only been actively trading for a little over a year, and I mostly trade stock options. I have 2 main accounts, one on TD Ameritrade and one on Robinhood, so I'll show you my biggest gains from both accounts. You also see that at times I've gotten really lucky on some trades, making money without knowing what I was really doing. Finally, with my first year of stock options under my belt, I do feel like I'm starting to become a better trader. There have been a lot of things I knew I should have been doing, but just didn't do for one reason or the other, and some undisciplined trading in general, but I am very grateful that I was able to make a profit my first year, so let's find out what trades profited me the most, including GameStop. I have an account on a platform called TraderSync on which I have imported all my trades from each platform, so it's an easy way to sort my trades and keep track of my profit and loss. Let's start with Robinhood. I got into stock options at a perfect time last January. I had made a few profitable trades and was keeping an eye on the market when March rolled around. With coronavirus starting to spread and a lockdown in the US looming, I decided to buy puts on the S&P 500 ETF, SPY. I bought 10 put contracts on March 5th. The strike price was $270 with an expiration of April 17th, and those contracts cost a total of $5,960. The market started selling off pretty drastically over the next week, so I started scaling out of my position. On the 12th, I sold 3 contracts for a total of $9,075, locking in $3,115 in profit and leaving me with 7 contracts still running risk-free. The next day, I sold 4 more for $10,356, and 3 days later on March 16th, I sold my remaining 3 contracts for another $10,200. Altogether, I profited $23,671 off of this trade. I was in the right place at the right time. Buying puts in just about any company would have resulted in pretty amazing profits at this time, so I certainly can't chalk this up to skill. While I was holding those contracts, I decided to go in even heavier. On March 11th, I bought 10 more put contracts with a strike price of $250. These cost a little over $9,200, and I sold 6 of them 2 days later for $10,518 to take my initial capital off the table and then lock in almost $1,300 in profit. Then on March 18th, I sold my remaining 4 for a total of $13,348 for a total net profit of $14,606. Combined, these 2 SPY plays resulted in a profit of $38,277. Next up is the trade that really kicked off my love for options trading. This was one of the first options plays I ever did, and it went really well. I knew T-Mobile was trying to merge with Sprint, so I decided to buy 20 call option contracts on February 7th of 2020. I don't really remember why I got in exactly when I did, but once again, I was incredibly lucky. Just a few days later, a judge approved one of the steps needed to complete the merger, and T-Mobile shot up almost $10. I sold 18 of my 20 contracts on February 11th for $10,350 and sold the remaining 2 for $1,280, resulting in a net profit of $8,830. This is what really kickstarted my Robinhood account and then gave me enough capital to go into those SPY puts in March. As far as lessons learned from this trade, I honestly think it was just luck. I remember reading that the merger would likely be approved any day, and I just took a leap of faith on this play and it paid off. Back again to March with the coronavirus crash, I decided to buy puts on QQQ, which is essentially the NASDAQ 100 index filled with lots of large cap tech stocks. I bought 5 of these contracts on March 6th for $4,835. And just like with the SPY puts, I started scaling out on March 13th, selling 3 of my contracts for $6,195, and then the remaining 2 on March 16th for $5,240. Resulting in a net profit of $6,600. Just like my other trades last March, this was just being in the right place at the right time. No special skill or talent here, really I was just lucky to enter those put contracts when I did. You're probably noticing a theme with a lot of these trades, but the fact of the matter is I decided to move most of my trading out of Robinhood after the market took a bath in March. But back on February 26th of 2020, I bought 3 put contracts on SPY with a strike price of $315. These contracts cost about $1,900, and my reasoning at the time was the same as before. The market was looking weak, and it seemed like the coronavirus was going to have a big impact on the stock market. I think this was probably one of the first times I ever bought put contracts, so I gladly sold just 2 days later for a profit of $5,286. Another obvious play I took around this time was puts on Royal Caribbean cruises. On March 5th, I bought 5 contracts for $1,625, and about a week later, I sold these for a profit of $5,050. This was a great trade, but I would have been better off scaling out of this trade because Royal Caribbean continued selling off another $37 before my contracts would have expired, so I could have made an absolute killing if I held on a little longer. And soon after, I withdrew $40,000 from Robinhood because I knew I was inexperienced and just got lucky, and it would be easy for me to give that money back if I wasn't careful. So that sums up some of my biggest Robinhood trades, mostly done last March with put contracts. So now let's head over to TD Ameritrade account and talk about GameStop. So GameStop, a lot has been said about it over the past month, and it was an absolutely crazy trade to be in. I've never experienced such a blend of adrenaline and anxiety trading before. I ended up buying shares of GameStop starting on January 19th with 400 shares for a cost basis of $38. I added 100 shares on the 20th for $37.64 per share, another 50 the next day for $40.39 per share, and another 50 at $58.73 per share. I made a video about the short squeeze with GameStop and mentioned I'd probably buy more shares the following Monday, which I did. I bought 50 shares for around $103 on Monday, so you can see as my conviction in the trade started to become stronger, I started scaling into the trade, buying more and more shares as it became clearer and clearer that a squeeze could happen. I then sold 100 shares on January 27th when the stock shot up to $340 per share. Okay, so we're nearing the end of the day on Wednesday. I just sold 100 shares, which now takes everything I spent on my initial 650 shares off the table. So now I'm just playing with free money here. So when the stock sold off to $141, I actually bought the dip, snatching up 50 more shares. Hands started to shake. Then on Friday the 29th, I didn't want to have so much anxiety over the weekend with so much unrealized profit, so I sold 325 shares to lock in $100,000 in profit so I could actually get some sleep over the weekend. Now things weren't looking so good for GameStop on February 2nd, so I decided to close out of the position by selling my remaining shares at the price of $101. Overall, my net profit on this GameStop trade was $128,492. Obviously, I wish I would have sold everything when the share price was in the $400 range, but this was still a successful trade and my biggest one ever. I'm glad I scaled in and out of the trade and taking risk off as I went, so I knew I wouldn't lose money. This short squeeze situation combined with the massive retail hype seemed like a unique once-in-a-decade type play, and I'm glad it worked out. I really do feel bad for the retail traders who got in too late when the price was so high. Generally, when you see it all over the news and you have your grandma calling you asking you about GameStop, I would say it's too late to get into the trade. My second biggest trade here was put contracts on Las Vegas Sands. This was another coronavirus play, betting Vegas would have to shut down and the casinos would take a hit. I got in around March 2nd, 2020 with 20 contracts for a total of $2,140. I held these for 2 weeks before I started scaling out, so on March 16th, I sold 14 of these 20 contracts for $11,200. I sold my remaining 6 on April 3rd for $48.60, and after all was said and done, I netted a profit of $13,920. My next biggest plays were again SPY puts last March, and I feel like I covered that pretty well, but here they are for a combined profit of $19,238. On the morning of May 20th, I bought 10 call contracts on Facebook expiring in just 9 days with a strike price of $230. I bought these because Facebook announced Facebook Shops, which was an e-commerce feature that allowed businesses to easily sell their products on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook shares were trading around $225 at this time, and it closed around $230 that day, making my call options in the money. I sold 5 contracts the next day around market open for $46.30 and sold the remaining 5 a couple hours later for $39.90 for a total profit of $3,043. Usually people say sell the news, not buy the news, because it's often too late to hop on a trade once the news comes out, but in this case, it worked out. I had some other trades that worked out pretty well with CRISPR, Zoom, Beyond, Snow, and Palantir, but as you can see, my biggest trades were taking advantage of these less common market conditions. First with the March 2020 crash, and then more recently, the GameStop short squeeze. I was lucky that buying puts paid off last March and gave me the bankroll to make mistakes and learn without losing my shirt in the process. Going through both my winners and losers has been helpful for me to see where I've had success and where I've made mistakes. It makes it easier to see where I can improve and become a more consistently profitable trader. I would definitely recommend at the very least having a trade journal, even if it's just an Excel spreadsheet where you track every trade and even note why you entered the trades you did. At the end of the week, you can see what you did right, what you did wrong, and learn from both. I will try and put out a video next week recapping all the lessons I've learned so far in trading so that hopefully you can avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button on this video. It'll really help this channel out, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next one.